morning, everyone. Good afternoon for everyone that is watching a new episode from your favorite podcast, Los Lawchadores, by your hosts, Roberto Campos, Pablo Rivera, and Guillermo Hernández. Thank you for being here. We're excited to talk to you about a few different topics that are very important for us right now, but also very important for this country and for the line of business we're also in.
Can we acknowledge the upgrades? We got like a nice back wall now. We have some new microphones where I don't have to sit on a booster chair. You can tell we're invested in season 3.
And this is such a great podcast. We have one episode per season. We're that exclusive. It's like that. The Supreme. Is that like that brand that they sell a T-shirt that just says Supreme? Really expensive.
Yes.
Makes no sense just because it's limited. So yeah, we're so limited. One episode per season. Welcome to season 3. Before we started, I was thinking about this the other day. Like they call this Hispanic Heritage Month. Number one, it starts on the 15th, right? It's like half a month to half a month. Like
yes.
In the middle.
Yeah.
So I guess it's because September 15th is the Independence Day for Mexico. Yes?
Yeah, there's several Latin American countries that start their Independence Days around that time.
So, and actually exactly what you said is that what I was thinking is that Latin American countries, like it's called Hispanic Heritage Month. And I think it's a little bit limited in the people that celebrate it. Like, for example, we're living our brothers and sisters from Brazilian background because they're Latin American country, but they're not Hispanic. It's not Spanish. Also, some of the Guyanas and some other people. So I think, I know it's interchangeable. I think sometimes they use it, but it will be more accurate for it to be named like the Latin American
Heritage Month. And I think there are actually some people who do call it Latin American Heritage, and that kind of movement towards being more inclusive towards everybody of Latin American descent. And I also have my own issues with being called Hispanic because it is of Spain and they're the colonizer and it's a government imposed identity, but we can get to that another time or not.
Well, but the problem is that when we talk about the colonizers, they look like me too, so I don't know about that. Let's not be that harsh. We're a combination, a mixture of, like we said in Puerto Rico, 3 races.
Un bate boricua.
Yeah, the Spaniards, the African blood, and the indigenous blood. So we're a mixture.
The first time, like at least in the legal profession, that I was excited or saw somebody that I felt represented by was when Sonia Sotomayor was nominated to the Supreme Court, because up until then it was mostly people who were not brown, right? And so that's somebody who I feel like the first time I saw somebody make it to like the highest level of the legal profession, and somebody who I felt really championed and fought for those who are vulnerable or marginalized in society and has continued to do so in her opinions. And for me, that's somebody that I would look up to, at least in context of the legal profession.
The reason why we have to have this months, just like, Asian Pacific Islander Heritage Month or the Black History Month, is because, this is all part of the American history, but a lot of times is just not taught in our schools. Our education system, focuses only on a part of the history, and they forget about including all these other people, races, ethnic backgrounds that contributed to what America is today. And even, my early years were, and all my education was in Puerto Rico. So we did get some Puerto Rican history. Like, of course, like we were there and that was part of our curriculum. But I didn't even, learn about sometimes the contributions of other Latinos or Latinos to the history of the United States. And you're still, discovering a lot of times, well, this person, participated in this or contributed to that. And I think that's why it's so important to have these celebrations, just so everyone learns the complete history of our nation.
Who would be your person, Pablito? Luis Marin Munoz?
No, Luis Munoz Marin, no. And yeah,
Roberto Clemente?
Roberto Clemente was a great person. It's just that I love baseball, as I don't know if people know that, if I've said it before. But Roberto Clemente, he's from my hometown, Carolina, Puerto Rico. And he was not only, a great baseball player, but he was a great humanitarian. And he actually perished. He died while trying to bring... What happened? The
Sorry,
word I used?
perish. Yeah,
I'm sorry.
It's not normal.
It's not normal. I don't know why. Why you did that word? He died in an airplane accident while trying to deliver goods to our brothers and sisters in Latin American country. I think it was Nicaragua that had an earthquake, and he wanted to make sure that the goods were going to the right people, and that the airplane disappeared, and it was an early death. So he was a great person, but it's not only just one person. It's like you're saying, Sonia Sotomayor, in our line of work, she achieved the highest office in the legal profession, which is a Supreme Court justice, and many more. At one time there was I think her name was Noelia Coelho. I'm trying to remember the full name. I know she got in trouble later on in her life, but she was a Surgeon General for the United States, and many people, and we as Latinos and Hispanic heritage should be proud and learn about everyone that has contributed to our great nation.
In that sense, I was somehow struggling to think about a person that I was a Hispanic or Latino figure that who I looked up to, because I was born and raised in Mexico. So really, representation was not an issue, right? Because I'm there. Most of the people are brown, so that was not an issue. So when I got here, that's when I really was able to experience what representation means and how a person that I think minorities should not be there, according to some other people, get to positions of power and make eventually a difference in different industries. Not just the legal profession. I'm a big sports fan, and I think there is many Hispanic and Latino athletes that made a difference and made an impact and have been making an impact on the sports, not just in the United States, but across the world. We have Canelo Alvarez, one of the best boxers, in my opinion. We have many UFC fighters, Raul Rosas, Lazy Boy, people like that are actually changing the sport in an industry that is or has been mainly dominated by athletes from different parts of the world, from Brazil, even from the United States. So I think that, and then there is also many people and artists that have been able to change the way Mexicans or Latinos or Hispanic people are seen in the world. For example, singers, musicians. You have Vicente Fernandez, you have Juan Gabriel, that actually made a big impact in the industry and that are a big point of reference for the Latino and the Hispanic community.
I think also like in entertainment as well, because there's always been a lacking of minority representation in entertainment. And so it's nice to see that recognized. Even in like animated, I think of Encanto or Coco, where like my kids are finally able to see representation in people who look like themselves in the movies and the television shows we watch. And I think that's important, right? I think it's important to be able to have a reflection of yourself in what you see.
And since we're talking about representation and how important it is that we have these celebrations, actually that transitions to what's going on right now and something really important that's going to happen this year, which is the elections, the representation of the voting bloc of Latinos or Hispanic people in the United States, which, again, it's not, it shouldn't be taken and it's one homogeneous, like
homogeneous.
Homogeneous. Yeah, I wouldn't have never pronounced it that way. Homogeneous group of people like that have all the ideals and values in terms of politics, but that nevertheless it's a huge group of people in the United States, and and representation, having that representation in government and going to vote, it's really important now more than ever. If sometimes I'm puzzled by some of our Latinos brothers and sisters that they forget sometimes, the struggles that maybe their parents, grandparents, or great grandparents had to go through to be in this country and to achieve the positions of privilege that some of us have. I cannot forget, just because I'm from Puerto Rico, and we get, which it's not like it was just given to us by the grace, and there was no intention or motives behind our citizenship that we were given, or the U.S. citizenship, and then we were able to fight in wars. But because I'm from Puerto Rico, I have the U.S. citizenship. Puerto Rico is part of the United States. I can just get in a plane and come here to the United States, to any state, just like anyone else that is an American citizen can emigrate from one state to the other. It's not really emigration or immigration. It's just movement inside the country. But just because I have that, I cannot forget that there are other people that have to struggle way more, even though, my first language is Spanish, and I struggle a little bit, when I had to talk English all the time. I still had a lot of privilege because I was a U.S. citizen, and I was fine. And I cannot view the experience of everyone else only through my lens and forget that there are people that struggle and that are here trying to make a better life for themselves, and how they are attacked and by others, and a lot of misinformation. So yeah, I think that's important, representation, and making sure that we support each other.
I did have a cool moment when a few weeks ago, when it was the presidential debate, and my daughter, who sometimes pretends to be asleep and then she'll like all of a sudden pop up, in our room or whatever. My wife and I were downstairs watching the debate, and we just heard little feet coming down the stairs, and of course it was my daughter Estella. And we're tell her, what are you doing? You need to go back to bed. And she kind of just ignored us and then came and sat right next to me on the couch. So she sees Kamala Harris, who we've read like her book and we've talked about her before. And then she sees Donald Trump, and my daughter is 4. She'll be 5 in November. And really her question was, well, who is that woman? And I said, well, that's Kamala Harris. We have her book. She's currently the vice president of the United States. And I took the opportunity to, talk to her a little bit. And I said, she was the first, or she is the first woman, female vice president of the United States. And she just looked at me, kind of trying to comprehend. I said, and actually she's running to be president of the United States. So it's possible that she could be the first woman president of the United States. And she looked at me, she said, oh, so does that mean that I could be president of the United States one day? And I said, yeah, actually, that means you can, And so it was like this nice moment and recognition of my daughter seeing somewhat of herself, a reflection of herself, representation, then that there's a woman who could possibly be in that position. And I think that's important. And I know there's a lot of issues on the ballot box this presidential election, issues that are going to affect our practice for immigration. We lived through a Donald Trump presidency that was really tough on immigration, but also really tough just like mental wise. I remember driving to the border and practicing at tent camps on the border, tent courts, and hearing like shots across the border. And it just, this kind of surreal experience of how difficult it was to practice immigration at that time. And being relieved that Biden won, but also just having some mental trauma left behind from practicing those 4 years under Trump. And I don't think, the ideas that we hear from that party and from that candidate in particular don't give me hope that it'll be any easier were he to win for our practice. And that's obviously an important issue for me on the ballot box, along with some of the other just women's health issues economic issues that are on the ballot box. And so I think it's important for people to, do their research and really to go out and vote. This is not really an election. I think you can sit on the sidelines and just kind of leave it up to the people who are willing to get in their car and go to the voting box.
Yeah, so there are certain issues that create a lot of conflict and friction between people right now. Fortunately or unfortunately, in our line of work, immigration is strictly related to the politics. It's a matter of policy. It's a matter of who is currently holding office as the president of the United States. And I can tell you from experience, when Donald Trump was the president of the United States, that was one of the darkest times that I've experienced in my personal life dealing with immigration. I work at the Carnes Pro Bono Project when kids were being reunited with their families and their parents, specifically their fathers, after being separated for weeks, days, or even months. And that was one of the worst times and worst experiences that I've seen in my life. I also was able to go and serve minor children in Tornillo, Texas, close to El Paso, and it was pretty awful to see them living in tents and trying or waiting to be reunified with their families and things like that. And I know immigration will never be perfect. I know this administration has not been perfect neither. I'm also pretty confident that if there is a change in the administration, the situation is going to get ugly really fast. And that is one of the main reasons why I'm voting for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. And there is some other issues that I consider very significant, such as women's health, the right for them to decide on their own bodies and things like that. So I think those are two of the main reasons why I think I'm making that determination right now.
And following what I started talking in the beginning of the podcast about how it's Hispanic Heritage Month and that maybe it should be Latin or Latinx or Latino, Latina Heritage Month. And it's because, for example, let's mention our brothers and sisters of Haitian origin. People, they're Latin American countries, just that they speak Creole, French, but they're a Latin American country. And I just cannot believe that we got it to the point that we have the two people that are running for the two highest executive office in this country, president and vice president, Mr. Trump and Mr. Vance, talking about our brothers and sisters of Haitian origin like they have, and how they're playing to the fear of people, misinformation, and about eating cats and dogs, the pets. Like I just cannot believe, like for me, it's just surreal to watch that happen, and it seems they're feeding into this fear of something that is a non-existent problem. So people understand. And I don't do immigration. I do personal injury. But so people understand how actual immigration into the country, it's necessary for economic growth. And people don't understand because all they feed them is like, whoa, these people are coming and taking your jobs, your money, which is not true. Like there's many countries that an aging population, it's a real concern because if you cannot replenish the workforce, economic growth is not going to happen. Japan has that problem, and they've been thinking and trying to see how they solve it. The United States, with the numbers of new birth, the birth rates going down, have that problem. And the people in Springfield and the government have even talked about how this influx of Haitian immigrants, legal immigrants, because that's actually something too that has is they're saying the what is it, the quiet part out loud now. They're really saying it, because before it's like, well, I just want people to do it in a legal way. Well, the Haitian immigrants in Springfield, Ohio, they're legal immigrants. They still don't want them. So the problem that we're having has nothing to do with oh, I just want them to follow the laws. It's some other issues. And even the government officials from Springfield, Ohio has said how, and business owners, how the influx of these Haitian immigrants have helped the economy. They haven't taken resources. They actually helped the economy. And that's what people understand. And that's what these people that are running and their supporters, they just prey on the lack of knowledge and the fears of people by feeding all this misinformation and this nationalistic rhetoric that it's damaging to this country. It's damaging. And once again, if Donald Trump wins, is it going to affect me, Pablo Rivera? Personally, my bottom line, well, probably if he, and that's another topic, if he institutes those tariffs that are going to make goods more expensive, but I won't, me and my family, we will not go hungry, but there's a lot of people that will, and there's a lot of women, my daughters, and that will be damaged by the healthcare policies that they have. And it just, we need now when they say, well, you shouldn't lose a friend or fight with a family member just because you have different opinions. We're way beyond opinions. It has nothing to do with that. If I have a family member or friend that his or her own existence is threatened by the policies of this group, if I have an LGBTQ plus family member or friend, their existence is being attacked by this group of people. If I have friends or just a neighbor that is an immigrant that is contributing to this society, their own existence, there were bomb threats in Springfield, Ohio to these Haitian communities. So to say that this is just, I'm just repeating what they said, and it's just my opinion that immigrants eat cats and dogs so that they use the resources. No. And it's not just an opinion. And you should use facts. And it seems like now we plays loose with facts. And it's a bigger conversation. I could have 8 seasons of this conversation of why these people are not the right and people to be in government and how we really need to go out and vote. The last thing I'm going to say, I'm still baffled how you can have someone that it's an educated person that comes from a modest background, educated person that went to school, got degrees, worked her way up to being an assistant district attorney, to be a district attorney, to be an attorney general for the state of California, to be a senator, and now a vice president, an educated, capable person. And there are people that go like, I just don't know who's better, that person or a 6 times bankruptcy proven of having racist policies by facts. You can go as early as the 70s and 80s. The Justice Department had issues with Trump practices about being a racist, bankruptcies, scams, a felon, an accepted by a jury of our peers to have sexually assaulted a woman, not even taking into account all the other women that have come forward and said it. His own expressions at that bus about how he would just go and kiss women. He don't wait. He doesn't ask because he's famous and he can do this and that. I'm not even going to repeat it. And how come we're having like those two choices and people are like, I don't know, man, Kamala, I just don't know her policies. I don't know if she's going to, it baffles me. And it's a sad moment for our nation. I remember when I voted for Obama. That was my first presidential election since I couldn't vote in Puerto Rico. Another podcast episode. So I voted for Obama, but I knew that if Obama would have lost, I was in agreement with Obama's policies and his government platform. But I knew if Mr. John McCain would have won, the country would have been okay. He was a great person. He would have been a good president. His policies were different as the ones that I wanted, but the country would have been okay. I don't believe that the country is going to be okay if this guy wins. It's just, we're not going to be okay. And it's a sad moment how people are just following him blindly, how you can ask them what are the policies that they like, and they really have no answer. And this is where we are right now. So I used to be a little bit more diplomatic about this, but now I just don't think, whenever you are accusing people of eating others' pets just to rattle your base, or you're saying that there's good people on both sides when there's like just protesters and Nazis or racist people in that chart. What was it in North Carolina? Whenever you have those ideals, now you cannot just be diplomatic about this. And if I lose clients for that, then so be it.
I appreciate how many times Pablito has used brothers and sisters. Like, it's a very Christian, my Haitian brothers and sisters, and I do, like, for immigration purposes, I think we hear business owners who want to bring over immigrants to do work, right? That are looking for truckers or people to work in agriculture, but our current immigration system just doesn't reflect that economic reality. I did read something about how now, like, on the right, it used to be like there was this fringe right conspiracy theory that was not like the mainstream, but it was there and we knew it existed, but that now has just completely bleeded into the Republican Party, and that is the mainstream now. Like, they're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs. All this conspiracy is now like the main platform for them and Project 2025, and I think that's scary, and I think it's concerning, and I think that's really why we have to. This is an election of our lifetime, I believe, that you have to go out and you have to vote Kamala Harris, Tim Walz. I just think that's going to be the better future for this country. So I know we're going to switch to something a little bit lighter, and this is, at least for you guys, your favorite season of the year. So why don't you tell us a little bit about, Roberto brought up something the other day about how he has like a marker to kick off the last part of the year that like really signifies, okay, now we're kicking into fall. So do you want to tell us a little bit about that, and then we can talk about Halloween plans?
Yeah, so I think before I was telling these guys that as a Mexican, the day that actually kicked off the end of the year for us, or for me and my family and my people close to us, was something that was called the Maratón Guadalupe Reyes, right? And Maratón Guadalupe Reyes comes from two dates. It starts from the birthday of La Virgen de Guadalupe, which is December the 12th. And then Reyes, it's Dia de los Reyes, January the 6th. So what happens in between December the 12th and January 6th is pretty much you get together with family, you get together with friends, and you have a good time every day, whatever that means. You may be doing barbecue every day. Maybe you have drinks with your friends every day. You have posadas, you have different parties from your workplace, from the street, your neighbor, all of that. But when I moved here, everything started changing little by little, because here they celebrate different things at a different scale. So now that I have kids, really what started being the kickoff date was October. We start usually with the San Antonio Bar Foundation Gala, that is usually in September, by the end of September. And that to me marks the beginning of the last quarter of the year. Now, if we speak about like the actual dates that we celebrate, I love Halloween, especially now that I have kids. I actually decorated my house for the first time, like ever.
We'll have to send you a picture of that for the podcast.
Yes,
Jackie.
I did all myself, hang on lights. I've never did that, but I did that for my kids, and they loved it. And we have Thanksgiving, which is a celebration that you enjoy with families. Then we have the end of the year parties for the business, for us. We have Christmas, we have New Year's, and then eventually we get to Marathon, to Dia de los Reyes. So really what changed in my life was that it just got a significant extension. So that is why that's my favorite season of the year.
Do you guys have Halloween costumes picked out already?
Yes, actually, Juan Pablo is all about Inside Out now.
Nice.
He watched too, so he wants to be Anger. He's gonna be. He's gonna paint himself red, and we're gonna buy him. I think Hennessy is my one of my daughters. She's gonna be Sadness. Her boyfriend, I think, he's gonna be Inui, Inui or something. I haven't decided.
You should be Joy.
Joy. I'm gonna be Joy because I'm really joyful. Actually, I was gonna pick Anger, but he picked it before me. But it's true. It's like about celebration, and it is my favorite part of the year. It starts in October now, and it used to be in Puerto Rico again. Yes, it used to be November because Christmas in Puerto Rico will start getting like in November. But there was also the Thanksgiving
Horario
navideño, yeah. But now it starts in October, especially because here, they decorate, and I've been decorating my house for the past few years with my 5-year-old. Now it's really exciting, and I think it's all about being with family and having an excuse to have fun. To be honest, it's just that. Growing up, my favorite part of the year was Christmas because that was when everyone was happier. That's when there was fiestas everywhere and
the birth of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ.
Yes. It was really, now it's extended, and it's just excuses to be with family and friends, and I love it, and it's pretty exciting.
What about you, Guillermo? You have costumes?
Yeah, so our kids, I'm actually happy because last year was the first year that my kids all picked their own costumes. Before that, we'd always done like family-themed costumes, Toy Story, Coco. We had done... They had still let me do it. Last year was the first time I got pushed back, and they were all their own thing. And then this year, they amongst themselves decided we were going back to family themed costume, which made me really happy. But they picked the Incredibles, so I'm gonna have to like squeeze into a Mr. Incredible costume, my wife into Elastigirl or whatever it is, and they've all picked their own costumes. So,
but I don't know why they do that. Incredible! It's a white man. You cannot wear.
We're gonna put some brown representation to it this year. But yeah,
you will see a lot of people will get mad when they see you with that costume.
What about you, Beto?
We're gonna be the Flintstones.
Nice.
In Spanish is Pedro
Picapiedra.
Pedro Picapiedra. Vilma. My boy is gonna be Bam Bam, and my daughter is gonna be Pebbles.
Does your boy know that Bam Bam is not Pedro's son?
Yes.
Right? Bam Bam was Pablo Marmol. Barney Rubble, was it? Like
Pablo,
in English? Pablo Marmol's son, yeah. And after talking what I was saying, I got a little bit agitated talking about politics. I've been trying not to, but I think it's really important. But no matter what happens, that's why we have to have these moments like that. Like when we were talking about what our favorite time of the year was, it's just that you have to look for your family, for your friends, and have, live every moment and take advantage of the moments you have, no matter what happens. If the worst happens in November, and by January we have a new administration, just keep working. Don't lose hope, and take those moments that you have with your family, friends, and the community in general, and just try to keep on living and just be the best person you can be.
I know we were talking about favorite seasons. I didn't get to say mine. Mine is summer. I do love this part of the year, but I absolutely love like the idea of swimming, being at the beach, vacation. That's my favorite part of the year. And I will close. I also had thought about like people I admire for her Latino, Hispanic heritage days. I did think of you guys as well, because I think of your like stories, and getting to practice with you guys has been a joy, and I look forward to that as we continue to grow together and do our next episode of season 3.
Thank you, guys. And thank you everyone that is sticking with us. We're promised that it's gonna be a more recurring thing right now that we have a new
we remodeled.
So we're gonna be more accessible to the people. It's not gonna be just one episode per season.
Maybe we'll bring on a guest.
And thank you for being here, and until next time.
Take care.